Before any big digital heist goes down, before a single password gets cracked or a file is stolen, the attacker has to do their homework. They need a blueprint of the target. And this crucial intelligence gathering phase, it's called enumeration. And honestly, it's the real first step of any sophisticated cyber attack. So let's break down exactly how they pull it off.
All right, so here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to walk through the attacker's four-part playbook. First, we'll define the mission itself, what enumeration even is. Then we'll see how they map the terrain by figuring out who and what is on the network. After that, we'll look at how they find those easy entry points. And finally, we'll open up the advanced toolkit they use to make sure no stone is left unturned. So, let's dive right in with the core concept. What are we actually talking about when we say enumeration?
Okay, the best way to think about it is like this. If scanning is just finding a locked building in the middle of the night, enumeration is walking right up to that building, peering into every single window and jiggling every doorknob. It's the process of turning a generic target into a detailed map of people, devices, and, most importantly, potential weaknesses. It's about actively rattling those doorknobs, not just noticing the building exists.
So how does an attacker even start building this map? Well, their first job is to figure out every person and every device on that network. You can't attack what you can't see, right?
This whole mapping process usually follows a pretty clear, logical path. An attacker is going to start by finding all the active devices. Then they'll work to dig up valid usernames on those systems. And finally, they'll try to figure out what kind of permissions those users have. It's kind of like a three-step dance to really get the lay of the land.
First things first, you got to know what's actually turned on and listening. Host enumeration is basically a roll call for the network. Using tools like Nmap, an attacker just pings every possible address to see what responds. This lets them build a map of every live target, servers, workstations, and even things that seem harmless, like printers.
Now, once an attacker has a list of real usernames, the game completely changes. This is why you'll often hear that finding a valid username is literally half the battle. They're not just guessing in the dark anymore. They can now run super targeted password guessing attacks or craft really convincing phishing emails addressed to specific people. The key on screen is now halfway in the lock.
So, you've got a list of users, but here's the thing. Not all users are created equal. This step is all about finding the digital VIPs. Attackers will probe the system to see what groups people belong to. Are they in IT support, finance, or the jackpot, domain admins? Finding a user in a privileged group tells the attacker exactly who they need to go after to get the keys to the entire kingdom.
All right, so once an attacker has a map of the people and the devices, what's next? They start looking for the easy wins, the digital equivalent of a window that's been left wide open. And more often than not, they find those in the places where we're all meant to share information.
Just think about all the shared folders on a company network. An attacker will just systematically check every single one. They're looking for folders that are publicly readable or, and this is the big one, allow anonymous guest access. It's like walking down a hallway and finding a file cabinet that's not only unlocked but has a welcome mat in front of it.
And the potential payoff here is, it's huge. We're not just talking about finding some old meeting notes. Unsecured shares can contain everything an attacker dreams of: sensitive financial documents, network config files that reveal infrastructure secrets, or even, and this happens, files with passwords stored in plain text.
In the world of Windows networks, there's one protocol that is king when it comes to sharing stuff: SMB, or Server Message Block. For an attacker, SMB is an absolute goldmine because, by design, it's incredibly chatty. It was built for convenience, to make finding printers and files effortless for users. But that convenience? It means it loves to share information with pretty much anyone who asks the right questions. And this slide just shows how much extra info an attacker can pull. By probing SMB, they can learn the exact version of Windows that's running, which helps them find specific exploits. They can see the password policies, which tells them if they can just guess passwords all day long. They can even get the system time, which is super useful for more advanced, time-sensitive attacks. And it's not just about network shares. Attackers use the same unlocked window idea on websites too. They use these tools called directory busters that just rapidly guess thousands of common page and folder names. Their goal is to find hidden spots that aren't linked anywhere on the main site, like a forgotten admin login panel or a backup file somebody forgot to delete. So far, we've covered mapping the terrain and finding the easy openings. But for a really dedicated attacker, that's just the warm-up. Now they bring out the precision instruments to analyze every last detail of the target.
Okay, this slide right here, this is everything. It shows the difference between basic scanning and true enumeration. Knowing that port 80 is open and running a web server, that's useful, sure. But knowing it's running specifically Apache version 2.4.49, that's the key that unlocks the door. Because an attacker can then just look up that exact version and see if it has any known public vulnerabilities they can exploit. The version number is the whole ballgame.
This is where things get to the expert level. Instead of just using off-the-shelf tools, an attacker can manually build their own network packets. It's like a digital neurologist's reflex test. By sending these strange, unexpected signals and watching how the system responds, they can figure out incredible details. You see, each operating system has its own unique digital reflex, letting an attacker identify it with spooky accuracy, sometimes even bypassing a firewall that was only expecting normal traffic.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that all of these techniques, from finding users to checking network shares to crafting custom packets, they all serve a single purpose. They let the attacker go from knowing nothing to having a complete, detailed blueprint of the target's environment, its people, and its weaknesses. The attack hasn't even started yet, but the battle might already be lost.
And that brings us to the final, really critical question. This isn't just about understanding how attackers work, it's about our own defense. Knowing their playbook lets us see our own systems through their eyes. So, what digital windows and doors have you or your organization left unlocked for them to find?